Let me know if the audio is just okay para ma-adjust ko itong microphone. But today, or this evening, our topic is going to be very serious, and it's going to be a very heavy na topic because this involves, sexual harassment. So just as a precautionary and as a warning to all, if you are not, comfortable with this kind of topic, if you're not comfortable with, topics and discussions regarding sexual abuse and and harassment. So I do hope na you stay away from this conversation because it will feature discussions on that, especially in the perspective of the pageant industry, because what is happening now with the Miss Universe Indonesia franchise and the allegations surrounding the PT Capella Swastika Karya, or the organization or the company that previously owned the MUID and MU Malaysia na franchises. These allegations against the PTCSK company and how they rolled out the Miss Universe Indonesia pageant has been a very hot topic in the international pageant community, that even Latinos are taking note of what's happening. So this is not going to be an easy conversation. So I do hope that for those who are not comfortable with this topic, to refrain from this conversation in the meantime, because this is not going to be a walk in the park. This is going to be a very heavy discussion on what went wrong, what are the things that could have possibly been done in order to avoid this very scandalous situation for the organization. So just to make it clear for everyone, this evening there will be 4 topics. I actually merged one topic from the original post on what I am going to be discussing, and merge this with the 4 topics that we're going to discuss. So the first one that we're going to be discussing is the allegations from the candidates, and some possibility of evidence tampering with regards to the CCTV on what happened on the ballroom of where the body check happened. The second topic is we are going to discuss as well the response, the press release by Poppy Capella on her on the Miss Universe Indonesia Instagram account, and we're gonna dissect a bit the contents of what she said, and then the last 2 topics that we're going to be discussing in today's live stream is what's going to be the effect of this scandal to the Miss Universe organization and to the Miss Universe brand, because this is not just sequestered to the image of the Miss Universe or Miss Universe Indonesia organization, but it also affects the entire Miss Universe brand as a whole. Because for the longest time, we never had a very large scandal of this magnitude in the Miss Universe organization for the past 10 years. So this is something very huge, and this is going to be something that the international pageant community is going to be discussing, whether we like it or not. And the fourth one is, what does it mean for the Miss Universe to have a quick response, that it only had days, less than a week, in their initial response of the allegations and their decision to remove the license with PTCSK. So those are the things that we will be discussing in this live stream. Medyo matatagalan tayo. We will pay a little bit more detail on allegations, on what happened first, so that we have an understanding of the entire chronological situation, the progression of this scandal. Okay, so before we begin, let's check up muna dun sa ating mga comments for those who are here. I'm sure there's a lot of you who are very excited to, or rather very eager to share your thoughts on this topic. So I do hope, warning first to everyone and a request to everyone in this live stream, that we be respectful of the victims of the situation, because this is not a easy topic to be discussing. So we really need to, to draw out the humanity in us and be sensitive to the what do you call this? To the emotions and the feelings of the victims, because the last thing that we want to do is that this conversation will veer towards victim blaming, because we've seen that in several pageant pages from a certain country, and we don't want that to happen, because we have to hear out victims of sexual abuse and sexual harassment. Okay, we have to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're not gonna come out if we question the validity of their statements. Okay, so ano muna tayo? Hello muna tayo sa lahat ng mga nandito ngayon. Mark Gonzalez is here. Siya yung isa sa mga unang nag-comment dito sa ating live stream. Good evening, sabi niya. Nakakagulat yung post mo regarding the MUIDCOO that we will be discussing a little bit later on. Jester PL, nandito rin siya. Good evening, sabi niya. Done with dinner, ready na sa nagbabagang session mo. I do hope that this is not going to be very hard pill to swallow. So I do hope that we're mature and we're sensitive in discussing this topic, because this is not going to be an easy one. Okay? Okay, so here we go. Nasaan na ba tayo? Ambience Bliss is here. Sabi niya, another serious conversation with the Jason Cappuccino ka dyan. Yeah, it's going to be a very serious conversation, Ambience Bliss. Haji is also here. Good evening. Sabi niya, mukhang mahaba-haba pa ang story. Palaban pa si Merly P. Sino ang Merly P? Si Poppy ba ang sinasabi mo, Hajiev? Kasi yes, I kinda agree based on the tone of voice on the press release. Medyo kinakailangang mag-hold back siya ng konti, in my opinion. Mark Gonzalez, sabi niya, I feel bad for Malaysia, since their representation this year might be jeopardized because of what happened. Tight time to organize a pageant or search. More than that, it's a very difficult thing to find a national director first before finding a representative. It's easy to appoint. That's the thing. But it's difficult to find a national director who will make the appointment. So, yes, I do feel for Malaysia in that sense. Will Garcia is here. Sabi niya, paano na yung recent winner ng Miss Universe Indonesia? Sana makapag-compete pa rin siya. Ganda pa naman niya. Sana wag iban pageant sa Indonesia. Ibalik na lang sa putri. Okay, we will be discussing that a little bit later on. Nawat Shock says, if the franchise is not broken, don't fix it. I agree. I hope the MUO realizes this. I think they know that. The problem is they are in a tight position, in a difficult position, because they have to balance the need for the organization to be financially stable, and you can only do that if you do competitive bidding for certain franchises, depending on the territory, which one has higher demand for it. And that is the only thing that can increase revenue through franchisee. So that would be a very difficult thing between balancing the professionalism versus the business aspect of wanting to earn money. There's always a conundrum on that. Sorato02, sabi niya, I noticed when MUO is switching a franchise from new to old, it always has a negative impact. If you think this is a sign, ang MUO will have to think 5 times before giving a franchise to a new owner. That is why there's a very important, aspect of needing to strengthen the vetting process, the background checks of Miss Universe Organization National Directors applicants, which we discussed in last week's live stream. So I do hope that you check that up if in case na you missed that conversation. Ambience Bliss says, I'm fervently wishing Pt1 Indonesia would reacquire the MUID franchise. Travel Junkies here, present sir, sabi niya, hope everybody is well. On our end, we're okay, we're fine. Tony Polines says, greetings from London, finally managed to catch your live stream. Hello and good evening there. From the Philippines to London, I do hope na hindi maulan dyan ngayon. Brownie Pinoy, aloha from Hawaii. Brownie Pinoy, I do hope that you're safe from the fires raging in Hawaii. I'm not sure which island you are in, or which part of Hawaii is experiencing the wildfires. But I do hope you and your family are safe from this natural disaster. I do hope that people will start to really getting into their minds that global warming is real, because this is an effect of global warming, yung wildfires na becoming more prevalent and natural disasters becoming more intense. Okay, Lemol 23.5. Hello Sir Jason, ang aga naman ng live mo, akala ko mamaya pa. MUO is stepping in, making the move to drastically revoking licenses, not just Indonesia but also Malaysia feels right. Actually, well, this is actually a very okay. So let full disclosure lang for everyone. I actually didn't want to do a live stream on this. Initially, my idea was to record a conversation or record my thoughts on this and then publish it as a video later on. However, when Miss Universe Organization published last night, Philippine time, that they are removing the license from PT Capella Swastika Karya or PTCSK, we decided that okay, let's do a live stream kahit na it's off schedule. If you remember, I usually have my live streams at Saturday evenings, but this time around I moved it in a Sunday because of the development that happened last evening. I thought that I needed to make sure that if I'm going to tackle this topic, I am informed, I know what I'm speaking about, I know what I'm talking about, and I do that by researching, by watching interviews, by watching news reports from Indonesia. Fortunately for me, I still can comprehend a little bit of Bahasa Indonesia, so I understand a little bit on the context and the intonation on the way that they deliver the news, they deliver the interviews, especially for the lawyers. Or the lawyer involved. And that is when I was shocked with the allegations that happened, and it's worse than what we previously think. And this is why I I made a decision to do a live stream instead, so that mas interactive yung discussion. I cannot say that I am 100% all-knowing with what's going on, but based on what I have researched, those are the things that I will be discussing with you this evening. Okay? So, again, disclaimer, I am not a fully immersed person in this conversation, in this issue, because it's still an ongoing issue, and the basis of what I'm going to say to you is based on my research on the interviews from the lawyer, Melissa Angreni, who is the, I think, lawyer for 5 or 6 of the victims, and as well as her interviews in news outlets, in Indonesian TV shows, as well as mga news reports from Kompas TV. Kompas TV is actually one of the more popular na mga networks in Indonesia. So I am pretty much very sure that the accuracy of the information that we get from Kompas TV is accurate. Okay? So, nasa na ba tayo? Nasaan ba to? Nawala na yung ano. Okay, Kape says, it's disappointing because it's already 2023 and such things are still happening. Kaya mahirap ilaban ang relevance ng pageantry in this day and age, especially with the Me Too movement that just happened several years ago. I think this is going to be a very difficult na conversation. Or rather, this is going to be a difficult scandal to move past from because of the heaviness, because of the substantial, effects that this scandal is going to do damage on the Miss Universe brand, the Miss Universe Indonesia na brand. Okay. Okay. Jon Snow 79 is here. Sabi niya, hi Jason, present, ready sa discussion. So one of the girl crying on TV. Ganda nung girl, kamukha ni Rabia nung umpisa niya sa NUPH. Okay, so Jester PL, I will come back to your comment a little bit later on, but I want first to give you a timeline of what happened during this scandal. Apparently, the incident happened on August 1st, where the candidates were asked to do a fitting inside a hotel's ballroom. It was not specifically mentioned which hotel this happened, kung saan hotel ito nangyari. So, I cannot give you information on that. But once a reliable source is available, I will be, sharing the information with you through our socials. Now, in that incident, candidates were asked to go inside the ballroom of a hotel and to do fittings. However, when they were there, candidates in groups of 2 to 3 were asked to remove their clothes, to undress. This would have been, something that is very normal. If you're going to do fittings, they would provide for you a area where you can change clothes and dress up. But what happened was the fitting suddenly became into a body checking activity, which on my end, I find that very deceptive. Because if you're going to tell the candidates that you're going to do a fitting for that day, then you should be doing fittings. If you're going to do body checkings, you need to inform your candidates days, weeks prior so that they can prepare. So that they are, there's a need for them to, mentally be prepared and be comfortable with the activity that's going on. Because you are essentially going to ask your candidates to disrobe and change, and there will be a lot of opportunities there that things can go wrong, simply because people, situation, the access of people going in and out of the ballroom can derail what could have been a very controlled environment. My experience with Binibining Pilipinas was that there are instances wherein the Binibining Pilipinas organization would ask members of the media to not come in a certain time of day for a pageant activity because the girls need to prepare. So the time that they are allowed to, get photographs for media and publicity purposes is only after the girls have done their hair, their makeup is already put on, they're already in their, parade of beauty swimsuits, they are already in their outfits, and that essentially there are no instances where a camera is seen taking the candidates, changing outfits, because that's a very no-no. That's a no-no. That's invasion of privacy. That is something that you don't do in respect to the girls. And then what happened during the body checking was that they were asked to undress, remove their tops, remove their bras, and then they were even asked, candidates were even asked to remove their nipple tapes or their nipple patches, or their, those nude silicone coverings that you can attach to your chest, so that if you're wearing a see-through gown, your private parts wouldn't be seen. They were even asked to remove those. And this is where the attorney, Melissa Angreni, is questioning the organization, because according to her, it was the chief operating officer, who is a female, who asked them to remove their tops and remove the covering of on their chests, on their breasts. And this is where I find it unprofessional, because you don't do that in pageants. You have to make sure that the dignity and integrity of the person is safeguarded in pageants, because we are already in an industry where people would give us flack for being sexist, for being outdated, and then you do these things that prove these detractors, these naysayers right about our industry. And I think that is something that maybe the chief operating officer forgot, or did not have in mind, or maybe she was power tripping, or maybe she got drunk with such massive authority, that she forgot that she needs to be professional, that she needs to keep these ladies dignified in every aspect of the competition. To the mere fact that someone has to remind you, to treat these people with dignity, treat the candidates with dignity, is something that should not be something. It's not something that people should remind you of, because that should be automatic. That should be something that you need to be in full mental capacity in your head, and fully aware of in every aspect of how you deal with the candidates. I think dito siya nagkamali. Dito siya kinapos. And that is why this is now a bigger issue, because for me, mas malala, because it's a woman who did this. And according to another candidate, she mentioned that in an instance during her body check, was that she was asked a very terrible question, a very inappropriate question, and she was asked if did she shave her pubic region, the V area, and that is very insulting, simply because it shows that you don't respect your female colleague. You don't respect your candidate. And I think that is a very huge misstep on the organization, because that is something that they should be very much not be doing. And the reason for that is because it is very much sexual abuse, because you are using your power in order to bully someone to do something that they would not normally do in a normal, day-to-day situation. And I find it very, how to say this? What's the right word? It's not just it's inappropriate. I find it distasteful there that you would ask someone, and according to the candidate, the person went up close, put her head closer to the candidate's, private parts, and inspected it. And that same candidate mentioned that some other candidates told her that in their cases, tinignan talaga yung area nila, yung private area nila, which is really grounds for, for sexual harassment. And if you are in a corporate setting, you would immediately get fired for this, especially if there is photographic or videographic evidence. And we will be talking about that later on, because apparently the CCTV of what's happening inside that ballroom suddenly is missing. So you have now here a candidate who is being inspected on her, pubic area, on her private area, and then you get another candidate who is asked, to spread her legs or to bend over to take a look at sections of her body, which is even more worse than we've all expected to be happening. Because apparently, according to Priscilla, based on her social media post, there were 30 victims. The mere fact that as of Wednesday of this past week, 8 candidates have already come out and reported these incidents with the Polda Metro Jaya Police District. And I think that is something that is very alarming, because walo na yung lumabas na victims. And I am thinking and hoping that more will be coming out and be telling their stories, because if key evidence is missing in the investigation, you would know that there are groups or there are people who want to bury this news bit, to bury this case. And I think that tells us something about what's going on. It gives us an idea that things are not in favor for the victims here, because there are efforts for them to be silenced. And this is especially happening in the social media pages in their country. There is a concerned effort, allegedly or apparently, that pageant pages in their country are keeping mum about the situation there, because of cultural attitudes on shame. If for those that are not very well versed with Indonesian culture, they have something they have a culture on shame, that they don't want to be humiliated or embarrassed in public. And I think that is the thing that makes this a even more infuriating situation, because you have here victims of sexual abuse, and then there are outlets, social media outlets and pages who want to keep mum about this as if it didn't happen. And I think that is systemic of the attitudes on saving face, na ayaw nilang mapahiya, that they don't want to be embarrassed publicly, and especially that this has now developed to become an international incident. Now, with all of these things that has been going on, I have been looking at Compass TV interviews and reports, and now that we have Santiago Uno, who is the Minister for Tourism and Creative Economy, saying that this needs to be investigated, this needs to be looked at and find, what really went, what really was going on during that time, because it, affects the overall image of Indonesia to the international, public arena. And this is, damaging to the image of the country. So that is what is going on right now. Currently, there are I believe, 8 victims who are now public, who are now speaking and complaining and filing lawsuits with regards to what happened to them during the body checks in Indonesia. And we are expecting that in the next few weeks, few months, we will be getting more information on the developments of this scandal. So there. I do hope na we are going to be very tactful and be careful when we discuss this in social media. And I do hope that we become more, supportive of the victims, especially those that have come out and voiced, what are the things that happened in the body checks that created all of this mess. Okay? Before we continue, let me just go and read some comments first before we get to the other portions of our live stream. Okay? Nasaan na yung ating ano? Okay. I think ang dami nang nag-comment here. We ended with the comment from Jester PL _ sabi niya, your thoughts, Sir Jason, sa call for Fabian to resign. After all, she was bummed while her sisters were crying about harassment. She was silent to keep the crown. That's the thing. I understand that she had to be silent because, of course, being in contract with the MUID organization, hindi siya pwedeng maglabas ng sarili niyang statement ng basta-basta. She needs to be very careful with the way that she words things, so that she doesn't drop the organization, and at the same time she doesn't make light of the plight of her co-candidates. On my interpretation, however, the way that she worded her statement, it looked like and it felt like she was playing safe. That she was playing both, the both sides of the coin. I think that the mistake that she did there was that she did not mention that she is in full support of efforts to find out what is really going on, and that her sympathy goes to the victims of sexual harassment, because that is something that she needed to voice out and be very clear upon, regardless of who was the perpetrator and who was the victim. Because ultimately, what you want to let people know is that you side to your sympathies, your well wishes, your good graces, is for those that are victims of sexual abuse. Not necessarily that you have to say the candidates who were sexually abused, but to make it clear to everyone that regardless of whether they're a candidate or not, or they are victims of sexual abuse outside the pageantry, the realm of pageantry, you are sympathizing with the victims always. Ganun dapat yung wording na nilabas niya, and that is why I am very disappointed with her statement. on her, I think it was in her, she published that in her Instagram stories because it was devoid of sympathy to the victims, or sympathy to victims in general. At least kahit papano, yun man lang sana yung nagawa niya ng statement na ang simpatya niya nandun sa mga biktima. Okay? And for those that I have mentioned here in the comment section, if whether or not she should compete, well, according to the Miss Universe organization, you know, they're making arrangements so that the Indonesian winner can compete. So that means that Fabian is pretty much, you know, guaranteed that she will be competing in El Salvador this year. The only thing that, you know, I find here that is, you know, that is distasteful, or maybe not distasteful is that the right word, that is a little bit bitter to the taste, is that Fabian could have made this a platform of hers, because if I'm not mistaken, her advocacy focuses on domestic violence, and she could have used this as a platform to speak out for victims. So I find her advocacy now a little bit insincere, simply because this is an opportunity for her to side with victims of sexual abuse and domestic abuse, and she didn't do anything that is of value, essentially, to the victims. It did not translate well that there was a misalignment with what she said versus what her advocacy is. Okay, Hajiev says, Anne says that they do okay. Anne says that they do due diligence in choosing a franchise. The fact that an ND's husband is a fugitive is already a red flag. So in a way, MUO is also complicit in this. So good they acted quickly in a way. I think, honestly, when they announced new national directors for Vietnam, for Malaysia and Indonesia, and several other, countries, I find that, well, I found it a little bit too rushed. Probably it was so fast that they weren't able to do enough background checks. But to think that I have Poppy Capella is a friend of Kun An, then she should have known the situation, especially if they are close friends. So there. Again, I should be reminding you that around the transition of the Miss Universe organization from what do you call this, from Endeavor to Kun An, there were a lot of key people that left the organization. Isa na doon si suddenly I forgot his name, the director for franchise relations. I forgot his name. So I hope someone can mention that in the comment section. And yun pa lang on my end, red flag na yon. I think when your director for franchise relationships is one of the first major people, key people in your organization to exit, to resign, and then you have this now here, this situation where there probably wasn't enough vetting on the new national directors, then it makes sense that these things happen. These things are consequences of not having the safeguards from the franchising area, and just moving forward in breakneck speed. Kasi when you move in breakneck speed, there are key, safeguards that sometimes gets ignored, essentially. So I think that what we are seeing now is a symptom, or rather a consequence of what happened earlier, when key people started leaving the organization. Okay, Chigako says, where in Indonesia did you work for before, Sir Jason? In Jakarta. I was based in Jakarta, and I was working for the largest retail company in Southeast Asia, which is based in Jakarta. Junkie says, Sir, wala bang bidding sa Indonesia at Malaysia, di ba? Wala namang bidding sa Indonesia at Malaysia, di ba? Anne gave the franchise to her BFF and kinda hypocritical on her part. Nakarma tuloy siya. Lamuel 23.5 says, ang sitwasyon sa Indonesia talagang malala. MUID statement, iisa lang sentiment sa mga tao, hugas kamay siya. I find it hard to believe she doesn't know what's happening inside. Binley says, good PM, Sir Jason, in your own opinion, should Fabian resign just for delicadeza purposes against sexual abuse on women advocacy niya, but she have chosen to be mom. Ang hypocrite lang ang dating. Yun na nga, talagang sinabi ko, Binley, these are things that is missing. That is a little bit bittersweet in terms of, the way Fabian handled this, because it looks like she's insincere. It looks like she's not serious with her advocacy, especially that this is very much aligned. What's happening right now is very much aligned with, her what do you call this? With her advocacy on domestic abuse. So I don't know what she can do moving forward to make this, impression on her become better. That's the problem when you are placed in a litmus test and you don't perform. Didikit sa'yo yung image na yan. So I don't know how Fabian is going to fix this. So essentially, she basically screwed herself by not speaking up, and she's screwed otherwise if she speaks up against the organization. Ambience Bliss, sabi, okay. This is just a response to Travel Junkie's comment. Putri was in the process of bidding back in February, but Kun An granted the license to Poppy without Putri Indonesia's knowledge, according to Angkasa Mega, which is the creative and communications director of Yayasan Putri Indonesia. Sabi ni Ping, magandang gabi po, Sir Jason. Magandang gabi, Ping. Hajiev, yung Sarah din, okay, yung Sarah din is bullying ang behavior, feeling judged ng ANTM. Hajiev, I think, si Sarah Hendra Praja, I hope I'm right with her last name, is one of the board of judges, or rather one of the board of directors pala of the Miss Universe Indonesia organization. I don't know if she is the COO, and whether or not she is the one that is being mentioned as the one who asked the girls to undress. So I cannot clarify for sure whether or not she is, because her name was not mentioned in any of the reports so far. Nasaan din na tayo? Okay, Travel Junkie, sinagot niya si Ambience Bliss. Sabi niya, imagine, kung dumi din maglaro. That's why nung nabili niya yung MU, nawala na amor ko sa MU. Sayang yung legacy of the pageant. Lamo 23.5 says, those actions during the body check are showing unprofessionalism from the organization. Those are grounds violation for revoking of license and probably criminal offense. Yes, those are criminal offense, and that is why investigations from the Indonesian government and Indonesian police is happening right now. EJ Belge, hi, Ading Jason, naimbag nga gabi dita, and hello from Vancouver. Who are the possible takers of the franchise if the pageant is not totally banned, if the clamor from ultra-conservatives are heated? There's always, Putri Indonesia that could take over their franchise. The problem is with the way that Miss Universe organization has treated, their longtime partners over the years. There's a possibility that they don't want to take over a messy license just like this. I know for a fact that kapag niluwa ka na or niluwa mo na, ang pait na lunukin ulit. I mean, if you vomited there, you know, if anyone who, you know, who has that gag reflex na yung kinain mo, gusto nang lumabas at nandito na siya sa leg mo, tapos nilunok mo ulit, ang pait, di ba? So I think you can you can describe that situation with what's happening in Indonesia right now. And I also have rumor has it that even Senor Jorge of BPCI is not very keen on taking back the Miss Universe Philippines franchise if it was offered back to them. Allegedly. Again, this is in the realm of rumors, so let's not be very much let's not put too much stake on that or weight on that, because these are rumors. But again, I do understand that if you are a long-time partner and then these business partners suddenly left you hanging without any or without any how to say any reason why, medyo ang hirap nga na din naman na na lunukin sila pabalik, na i-welcome din sila pabalik. And this is also why based on what I've been hearing is that the attitude of Binibining Pilipinas to the franchises that have left the Binibining Pilipinas organization was that if they left, they have to learn to crawl back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about the internet interruption there. So let's move on to the next comment. Jon Snow. Ay, tama si Jon Snow ba? I think yes, it's Jon Snow. Sabi niya, parang tagilid mega bintang ni Ivan pag mahigpit ang Indonesian government sa pageants. Both Putri Indonesia and Miss Indonesia lang daw may government backing. Kaya behave galawan nila ngayon. So, let's see. Maraming pwedeng mangyari with regards to the franchise as of this moment. I think that if nakikialam ng gobyerno doon sa franchise ng mga pageants na to, or nakikialam na sila kung sino yung may legality na makapagpadala ng international na reps in international pageants, I think lahat ng mga international pageants gagawa ng paraan na they toe the line, that they would have to make do with what the country or the government is imposing on in terms of restrictions. So, yun. Nasaan na tayo? Haji Ev. Sana yun. The very opposite of women empowerment, she will have to face the music. I agree. Self Bagadi. Sheena Teresa Assis. What happens when Padrino system infiltrates business? That's all I can say. Yeah. Hajiov continues here. The other thing, Putri, grabe din magpahaging at mga queens nila mega stick at that. Yon. I think for